You were just going to let me be muted. You're just going to let me do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
I thought it was my fault.
It was my headphones that were the problem.
I see. Okay. We're good now. Good evening, everyone. That was a live start. Welcome to another episode of The Business List, your source for stories inside the party, across the country, and around the world. This is the best my voice has sounded in weeks, and I started off muted. My name is Amanda Griffiths, and we are LP Alliance, an intercaucus coalition rebuilding the Libertarian Party and revolutionizing the liberty movement. I am joined by Rose Leatherman, I'm joined by Jake Porter, and I am not joined by Kyle Davis. He's just here. Everyone, how are you?
Doing great. How about you?
Doing better. I have a voice. I didn't have a voice this time last week.
We're not going to get any RFK impressions this time, I guess.
Not this time. No. I'm almost back to normal here. We are going to begin tonight with some good news. So last night, Kyle and I did a stream on the death penalty, but using the case of Robert Robson as an end to that discussion. Robert Robson, of course, was convicted and sentenced to death. What?
Robertson.
I did. Okay. Yes. Good. That was a test.
Yeah. I thought it was Robertson.
Because I'm thinking of Mimi who's convicted and sentenced to death.
Mimi's been convicted.
Mimi. Oh,
for the death of his 2-year-old daughter. Now, the daughter was classified as having been killed due to shaken baby syndrome, which has since been debunked. Last night, Kyle and I had a discussion on the death penalty and discussed this case. Now, I don't want to say this is our victory lap, but after that discussion, we learned today that a Texas court has indeed granted a stay of execution to Robertson. This means that, yes, Robertson gets an appeal. He gets to present his case again in light of the fact that since he was convicted and sentenced, shaken baby syndrome has been debunked. And the psychopath test, which was also used to cement that death sentence, is BS. Again, not saying this is our victory lap. It's really more Robert's victory lap. But this is extremely, extremely good news and very heartening, seeing as there were so many attempts to get this man freed that just fell short for really ridiculous reasons.
Right. I mean, I think it's a little ridiculous that if someone is charged with something and then the thing that they're accused of doing turns out later to be based on junk science and turns out to be discredited, I think that should trigger an automatic appeal. So this really sheds light on how problematic the entire justice, quote unquote, system is, especially when it comes to capital punishment. I mean, ultimately, yeah, we're all happy that he's being allowed to live and will hopefully get his freedom once the appeal happens. But that was dangerously close, though. He was set to be executed next week.
Yes, yeah. Yes. As I wrote on the LPA account, we refuse to allow tyrants to exploit the innocent for the incompetence of the wicked. And that was certainly the case here. There were doctors who got this wrong. There were doctors who likely failed to treat the daughter adequately. There were prosecutors and criminal justice, for lack of a better word, officials who botched this case. And routinely, there are attempts to render the innocent into scapegoats because they have no political power.
Our country is run by people who would rather sentence an innocent person to death than admit that they made a mistake. Okay? Yes. I don't know how else to communicate this to people, but it's worth reminding ourselves of on a daily basis. Okay? A prosecutor would rather have a good-looking record, even if it means innocent people die, than admit that they screwed something up.
And it goes a step further too. There's an excellent book out there. It's called "Mistakes Were Made, but Not by Me," and it explains how we as human beings justify bad decisions that we make, and we don't want to admit there's a mistake. If you are a prosecutor and you admit a mistake, you could be admitting that you sent someone to death or you sent someone to prison for 20 years for a crime they didn't commit. Why they justify it in their own minds. They don't they don't allow themselves to think they've made a mistake, so they decide these people are guilty no matter what the evidence says. It's human nature, and any one of us is there's a potential for us to fall down that trap and
Oh
go
yeah.
down.
Or even dogs.
But it's a problem with the entire system that we've got too, and so there's a chance that even though everything we know, this guy could still end up in prison. This guy could still end up on it, and that's happened before. There's a case back in the 90s of a man in Missouri that had I think the knowledge of about a 7-year-old that was put in prison for life for a murder he didn't commit, and the governor had to pardon the young man because the courts did not get it right and wouldn't reverse course on it.
The United States has a long history on this one, right? Like all the way back. I mean, if you think about Emmett Till, right? This is we literally put a child to death through the electric chair.
Wait, that was a lynching. Are you thinking of
Emmett
someone
Till
else?
was a lynching. No, I am thinking of someone else, but it's shit. Emmett Till was a lynching. You're
I
right.
mean, there have been
I
a
put two
lot
together.
of black people executed who were probably innocent, but yeah, that one was a lynching.
You're correct. Shit, what's his name then? George Stinney. That's it. Sorry, George Stinney. We put a child in the electric chair. Like, that's what we're dealing with. This is not a new thing for the government to be terrible.
And
you know,
go on. Sorry.
It as mentioned last night, and I think that everybody should go out and watch that Solidarity stream. The death penalty is something that's abhorrent to libertarianism because it's the government deciding if you'll live or die, and they don't even have to get it right because there's no one to stop them from getting it wrong.
And the second that you go down that route of saying the government's going to decide that we're going to execute people for mass murders, well, that turns into just one murder, and that turns into you stole a loaf of bread one time. Where does it stop at? I mean, and when you get to authoritarian dictatorships, they always want to bring out the public executions, right? So when you start to hear people that talk about that, that tells you exactly where their mind is going. They want to scare the population with public executions. That way they don't criticize the state. And we think it's about stopping crime. Well, that's where it starts, but that's not the ultimate outcome of the death penalty.
It's like the arguments over torture. Like it always hinges on, is it actually getting us the information we need? Well, that was never its purpose, and it does succeed at its real purpose, and that's to terrorize the rest of the population into compliance. Yeah, I mean, I think this case also sheds light on some of the problems with the medical system too. Like, this has been a long-running issue with people will have a child that's sick. The doctors cannot figure out what is wrong with them, so they eventually end up blaming the parents. Similarly, like, there have been so many diseases throughout history. I mean, up until fairly recently, like, arthritis was not understood, and these things were ultimately just blamed on the patient. Oh, it's hysteria. Oh, it's psychosomatic. It's similar, like here with clearly we can't figure out why your child is having all these mysterious injuries. There was a recent case that like one that Spike Cohen got involved in, where the child had a genetic condition where he would get broken bones and bruises easily. He was taken away by the state because the doctors concluded that the parents must have been abusing him, even though they had medical staff or medical experts testify that the child had a particular condition that was causing these issues. Yeah, doctors are often far too quick when they can't figure out what's wrong. Rather than acknowledge that they don't know what's wrong, they'll blame the patient, or in this case, if it's a child, they'll blame the parents. And yeah, shaken baby syndrome was just another example of this, that they couldn't figure out why children were having brain injuries with no external marks on them. So they concluded clearly the parent must have abused the child.
Never mind that babies' skulls are very, very, very mushy. They're extremely mushy skulls.
It's
For the FBI hair analysis they were doing years ago that was sending people, they found out it was completely garbage, and nothing really ever changed. That was like 10 years ago.
Speaking of public executions, because we did in fact have one of these fairly recently, it was a fatal shooting of a Mexican immigrant in Chicago. This was actually in Franklin Park, so just outside of Chicago. There was a chase. The gentleman's name was Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, and he was an illegal immigrant. There was an attempt to apprehend him, and he drove off, as we now know from the body cam footage. So he attempted to flee. Evidently, in the process, there was one ICE agent who was grabbing on his vehicle and then was, as a result, dragged for some distance with minor injuries, as the agents can be heard saying later, again, on the body cam footage. And they shot this man several times and killed him. Their story was that he attempted to run them over with his car. And that was their story until the body cam footage came out. And it's clear that's not what happened at all.
They didn't realize that the other cops who were there, the normal police, were wearing body cams because the ICE agents had refused.
So in that release of the body cam footage, the story got turned on its head, where initially the narrative was he attempted to run us over. You actually see him in the footage running away, trying to flee from the agents. So we have, fortunately, we had officers who had their cameras on, but once again, this is just yet more proof of the blatant attempts at this administration and all of its deputies will make in order to shield themselves from culpability from wrongdoing and in order to distort the truth.
Well, let's call this for what it truly is. We've got a secret police force right now, ICE, conceals themselves, covers themselves up, and will go around the country terrorizing the population, and will ultimately be used at the president and the president's sole discretion. No congressional, no judicial oversight. That's what we've got here.
As if the people who are types of people who decide to join regular police forces tend to be bad enough. They at least have some amount of screening, even though you still end up with terrible people who end up being cops. The types of people who want to be cops are the types of people you usually you don't want being cops, with maybe a handful of exceptions that I'll grant. However, ICE agents, like they're getting the absolute dregs of society to become ICE agents.
They're not.
They are not sending their best at all. Like, from what I understand, they were having a hard time getting people. Like, they are getting.
You don't think Dean Cain is the best?
They are getting some very heavily disturbed, angry young men.
Or Dean Cain, who's a very angry, disturbed old man. But
occasionally you get the old ones too.
He needed the extra money, I'm sure.
We have, so this is a post from Daniel Johnson that, sorry, Rose, were you going to go on?
Oh, no, I was going to say, because like you mentioned, like they claimed one thing happened and something else clearly happened because it was caught on video. I've seen this multiple times. Like I was watching a video of people protesting outside the ICE facility. I think it might have been in Portland, though I could be, or Chicago. Could be wrong about that, though. Where supposedly the protesters assaulted the ICE agents, but you don't actually see protesters assaulting the ICE agents. Like it clearly looked as if the ICE agents instigated, but they were trying to insist that the ICE agents were just defending themselves and that these crazy, out of control leftist militants are starting things with our brave ICE agents who are just doing their jobs.
Are you talking about the people dressed up like the dinosaurs that are out there dancing? And
oh, well, they're dangerous.
For those who don't know, yes, there are some individuals in Portland who have gotten some costumes from Spirit Halloween or something, some kind of furry costumes. One of them is dressed
furries,
up like Reptar.
Yes. We know furries are terrorists.
Yes,
okay?
Degenerate furry terrorists are terrorizing the ICE agents with their fur in Portland. So there is a Reptar. There are others. I really just focused on the Reptar. I was taken by the Reptar.
I was looking at the unicorns.
There was a unicorn as well. And standing in the face of tyranny with Reptar costumes, and I think that's appropriate.
This is going to be the most interesting Civil War ever, though, I've got to say. You've got people in dinosaur costumes out there going to fight. This is going to be...
Fortunately, we've got you covered for the merch, dear viewer. If you just go to the LP Alliance merch store, you will see so many wonderful things. We just added a new shirt, actually. Today, we added a first mover jersey for those who have joined LP Alliance within the first year of its founding.
Yes, those are assault fursuits.
Yes, they
Okay,
are.
we need common sense furry control, people.
We
okay?
do. We do.
Make sure
And
you
Now,
have
if
your furry
if it's not
spayed or
fursuit
neutered.
control, but is furry control, I'm in.
Mhm.
I mean, it's both, Kyle. It's both, because if you wear a
Stay or
fursuit, then you
neuter your
probably are a
furs.
furry. I have to tell you. You know, the good news, if there is good news about this, is that Americans' views on immigration have gone up since ICE began deploying itself in major U.S. cities. So there's a Gallup poll that was recently released. On the whole, do you think immigration is a good thing or a bad thing for this country? At the start of this year, that number was at about 65% said that immigration was a good thing for the country. Just over, it looks like 30 said that it was a bad thing for the country. Now, 10 months in, 79% of Americans say that on the whole, immigration is a good thing for the country. And 17% say that on the whole, it's a bad thing. So really, I mean, that this might just be another deep state Democratic plot to get everyone to support immigration. Stephen Miller could be a double agent here.
Clearly, he's a far left Antifa infiltrator.
He is. He looks kind of like an Antifa person.
I mean, if you base your ideas on what an Antifa person looks like on Fox News, where they had that Antifa guy who, just to really sell it, wore a face mask during the interview too. Like,
Yeah, I would like to see Stephen Miller in a Reptar suit personally. That would make me very happy.
how do you know that wasn't him?
I would like to see Stephen Miller being eaten by a reptile.
Have we ever
personally.
seen him and the Reptar person in the same location at the same time?
You know, I don't think we have, and I think the only way to know for sure is to have Stephen Miller deploy himself to these major cities and see what happens. Because otherwise, I am going to assume that he is in fact dancing at this precise moment in a Reptar suit in front of an ICE agent. And frankly,
we
I won't
need him
stand
to-
for that from my federal officials.
We need him to prove that he's not, okay? How are we supposed to trust him if we don't know that he's not dancing around in a fursuit?
He has to go to Portland unmasked and let the chips fall where they may. He brought this upon himself.
So Dustin Koppels pointed out that Stephen Miller failed at 1D chess. But I want to defend Stephen Miller here for a second. Because you can't move anywhere in 1D chess. Your pawn hits their pawn. No one can pass each other. You can't capture that pawn and the game's over. It's always a stalemate. You have your knight, but your knight can't move because he can't go to another dimension.
Just so everyone knows, Kyle's making a joke. He's trying to say something that's funny. And he'll later explain that in one-dimensional space, you can't move in it, so therefore you lose. He was doing a very good job, Kyle. Thank you very much for attempting to make a joke.
Not at all what the joke was.
Uh-huh.
It's 1D chess as
Yes.
opposed to 2D chess.
I know.
So there's one row,
Yes.
so they can't move it.
Yes, I understand that.
It's not like
So you always
dimensional,
lose.
like
The one
geometric.
you're explaining the joke now. You're doing exactly what I said you were going to do. Congratulations,
making
Kyle.
fun of it.
Moving on. All right. Now the good news. I love that.
Shameful.
I love it so much. Now the good news is that there are in fact people fighting back as well. We have, and I think Kyle can cue up a video of this. A group of individuals, once again in Chicago, who stopped ICE agents, physically stopped them from detaining a man, taking him off the street. Let's play this. It's not very long.
Did I add sound to that one or not? Did you guys hear that?
You did. I heard that. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we can hear it.
¡La migra! No. Let him go!
So Rose had a video of this that was cut so that you could see the ending.
Yeah,
that
we
appeared
played
in
the full one by
video.
mistake.
Yes, yeah.
So I couldn't even tell for a while if the guy in the white shirt was an ICE agent, or but I think he was, because then he was like trying to help hold the guy down and put zip ties on his hands. But
I love Dave's comment. Yes, the charge is eating a succulent Mexican meal. This is Democracy Manifest, gentlemen.
I love how, like, because the person that posted this originally, or the edited, or like the cropped version at least, it's like everyone involved should go to jail for interfering with them lawfully arresting an illegal immigrant. Okay, how did they know this person was here illegally? Like these people never present these people. They never present warrants when they're asked for them. They just grab people off the street and then they figure out later whether they're here illegally after they've been detained for oftentimes weeks.
What you weren't
there's a
able
lawsuit about
to
this right
see, what you weren't able to see in that version was that in the very end, yes, they do end up arresting the man from ICE, and there are two officials who abscond and scream off in that hurt.
You can hear at least one guy saying,
car.
You can hear at least one guy saying, get out, or don't come back, or something too.
Yes. So this is it. But you know what, Dave? It is Democracy Manifest. The reaction of the crowd was indeed Democracy Manifest. That is what democracy looks like, or should look like, when democracy is threatened. Every single one.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, every single one of those individuals is inspiring to me personally, and is doing what all of us should be doing when we see injustices being committed. Yes, that is Democracy Manifest, and we should have more of that.
Well, the only way they win is that if we don't do anything, right? Or if we become numb to it and we quit standing up and we quit speaking out against it, we quit trying to stop it. But this is in the dictator's playbook. It's been tried everywhere. Saddam Hussein, before he took power, what did he do? He got control over the secret police. There always has to be a secret police, whether it be Benito Mussolini. Any dictatorship needs a secret police. Trump couldn't get the military. Stephen Miller couldn't get the military. So what do? They increased the budget for ICE so they could hire their own people to go out there and terrorize the American people, and to also attempt to send the National Guard from various states into other states to make Americans numb to what they're doing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I said this as soon as they started deploying feds to various cities. This is just to get people used to the idea of having soldiers stationed on their city streets.
So we fought a whole American Revolution over largely that issue.
And that's the funny thing too, is you are really seeing who would have been the loyalists in the American Revolution, right? It's
people with American flags and their their
just
profiles.
because we live in a country that's called America and America was founded by, through a revolution, then surely nothing that follows that revolution can ever be anything but good and right. Surely nothing, no government that happens. This is America. America is the good country. America is the country that wouldn't do this because we fought a war to be able to have this safe democracy. Just because something was founded in a proper way doesn't mean that founding doesn't have to be renewed from time to time. In fact, it does. That is the entire point of maintaining a state. So yeah, it's very, very funny to me to see all these people posting, well, what did the revolutionaries get up in officers' faces and scream at them? No, you know what they did?
They tarred
slit
and
their
feathered
literal
them.
throats. They
Yep.
slit their throats. That's what they did.
The pro-Second Amendment crowd seems to be forgetting why the Second Amendment exists in the first place.
Yeah.
Okay. How many times have we had to remind the Democrats that no, the Second Amendment doesn't exist for deer hunting?
And they also want this to turn violent, though, on the
Well,
other
yes.
hand. And the second that it does, then they can use physical force much greater.
I feel like we're past that, though. They're already going to turn violent no matter what happens.
Oh yeah, it's just a
Right.
matter of time, I think.
Right.
But,
like that's
we're-
the thing. I feel like. Oh, go ahead.
oh, yeah, I think the next step is when does the administration just completely defy the courts?
Mhm. Well, they're-
I mean, we had Matt Walsh go on or have a meltdown on his show or whatever he has about exactly this, saying, "Well, why does a judge get to say no to the president? The president should just like."
Except they didn't think that
people
when
who have-
Obama was president.
That's the people who have gone on and on about the Constitution and checks and balances and states' rights for years.
And
now are
Obama's
suddenly
executive
very-
orders.
Are suddenly very angry about the idea of states' rights.
Jocelyn is absolutely right, by the way, on this. And it's more than comforting, it's inspiring. We need to be those people who will fight back. I mean, part of the reason that I wanted us to see this video is that we need to see that it's happening. It's happening. Sometimes people want permission. And the only way they get that permission is by other people doing it first. This is a classic problem with collective action. So that permission is there. People are rising up. People are doing the right thing. People are being brave. So yeah, it's more than comforting. It is heartening, and it is a sign that and these were, it looked to be a predominantly Latino group. These are people who are willing to fight for what this country stands for. These are people that we should be glad are here, and we should be proud to stand with them.
Right. You could see like they started out very hesitant at first. Like everyone was kind of waiting to see how bad it got, also waiting for someone else to make the first move. But I mean, that's how these things usually start out. But I'm hoping we'll see this become more routine. Communities fighting back and protecting their own, and making it clear that no, we're not going to have feds come into our communities and defy the will of the people who actually live here. Okay, you're not going to arrest our shopkeepers and our chefs and people who have been part of our community for years and years on some stupid technicality so you can collect a bounty.
And Jake also brought up a good point that they are waiting for there to be escalation, right, from the crowd, so that then they can be justified in fighting back. They're going to do that. We need to know that. But even if people do nothing, they'll do it. So not being violent isn't going to stop them from being violent. And we know this because it's happened. So there's a pastor who was shot in the head with a pepper ball, who is now suing the Trump administration over First Amendment threats. This is the Reverend David Black. He's a Presbyterian minister. And he was standing peacefully and protesting against the ICE descent upon the city. He was dressed in black. He's wearing his clerical collar.
I have the video. for you.
Absolutely. Okay, sure, absolutely.
Clearly, he was a threat to them.
Yeah, no, he's an
clearly.
Antifa terrorist, clearly.
Up. Which this one doesn't have sound because it's being pulled from a CNN thing.
Sure.
So there you go. There's a pastor shot in the head.
So
Which
he's
is
not
illegal, in fact.
gesturing, he's not brandishing, he doesn't even look to be approaching. They just shoot him in the head. If you don't get violent enough for them, they will get violent enough for you. It does not matter.
Dave says something very interesting. Trump wants a Kent State moment. The thing is, when Kent State happened, nobody really wanted that moment during the time.
Mhm.
Nobody wanted that to happen. Nobody wanted those college kids to be shot to death. But that's what happens when you put the military out there next to people who are throwing rocks. Something bad is eventually going to happen.
I mean, yeah, they're trained to kill. That is like their one purpose. So surprise,
Kidnap
surprise,
and
you
kill.
put them, yeah, you put them on domestic, like in domestic communities, and yeah, people end up dead.
It the law as well is that you can only fire a pepper ball directly at someone if they are an imminent threat. So you've got a
Unless-
pastor sitting and preaching on the ground. They're up top. The pastor's not moving forward, and they shoot him in the head with a pepper ball.
The only logical conclusion is that the agents were possessed. Okay, because that's the only
is what you-
circumstance under which that pastor could have been a threat to them.
He would then constitute an existential threat, then yes. He says, so this is a quote from him. He says, I invited them to repentance. I basically offered an altar call. I invited them to come and receive that salvation and be part of the kingdom that is coming. So he is, again, he's suing the administration for this. And we see this very often in Chicago. You saw it again. There was a video from Portland, I believe, where there was a young woman who was shouting at ICE and probably annoying them, but was not threatening them, was just telling them they were fascists. And they pepper sprayed her.
Mhm.
She was not constituting any kind of threat. She was shouting at them, and they pepper sprayed her. If they will create the violence, but when that happens, we need to create the resistance. It's the bottom line.
Right. I mean, and then with the new executive orders designating Antifa a terror threat, and
Right.
calls for cracking down on leftist terror cells. Like, how? Okay, okay. We were worried about things like this happening, but I'm still in awe of just how quickly things have escalated. Like, at the rate things are escalating, how much longer is it going to be before ICE agents are also given authority to prosecute domestic left-wing extremists, in addition to rooting out illegal, quote-unquote, immigrants?
That's where they're going. That's where the Pam
Right.
Bondi is almost saying as much directly. And in fact, I
Yeah,
think
I
she
mean-
does.
They've been hinting at this for a while, but at this rate, how long do we have? A couple weeks, maybe a
It's,
couple months before ICE agents are before they announce formally that ICE agents are also now going to be used to go after left-wing terrorists, which by the way, reminder number 50 million for the right libertarians who are making excuses for all of this shit. It does not matter just how pro-market or pro-individual rights or socially conservative or right-wing you think you are. Fascists are not going to distinguish between you and far-left Antifa types.
The
Okay,
ANCAP
if-
flag is considered a terror symbol.
Yep. If you oppose the existence of the federal government, you just want to be left alone to live your life in peace, to run your business how you want, to homeschool your kids, to keep the money you make, to be relatively self-sufficient, you are going to be considered an existential threat to the state. Okay, doesn't matter how much cheering you do for them on social media because they went after those stupid commies and they owned the libs. It's not going to save you. Okay, they are going to view you just as much of a threat as they're going to view the Antifa crowd.
Absolutely.
I would like to talk about the other ICE shooting, also near Chicago. Last week, it was reported that 10 protesters had surrounded ICE vehicles, rammed the ICE vehicles, and then opened fire upon the ICE agents, and the ICE agents were forced to defend themselves. It has now come out from, again, body cam and surveillance footage that that's a blatant lie. One of these ICE officers happened to have his body cam on. It shows the driver of the ICE vehicle in question jerk the wheel to the side into the woman in question, where he immediately steps out of the car and begins firing. The claim that they had rifles turned out to be false. They didn't even have guns. So there were no shots at the ICE agents. The ICE agents rammed American citizens, got out of their vehicles, and proceeded to shoot them. If it hadn't been for quick-acting paramedics who were not called by the ICE agents, that woman would have died too. 17 people have died from ICE interactions this year, and they have been ICE's fault.
And as this becomes more and more blatant, the deception, the lying, the reversals, I want to talk a little bit about propaganda. And the thing with propaganda, and I read a study a while back that looked at propaganda in the Soviet Union. And what they found was, I was looking for tips, basically. But what they found was that people who were subjected to propaganda, it didn't actually kind of manipulate their minds the way the kind of Western narrative is, like it changes their opinion or something. It does two things. It demoralizes people so that they feel incapable of acting because they don't know what is and isn't true, and Bezmenov talks about that. But what else it does is it gives people permission not to think. People will be very happy to be told that they don't have to think. So it gives someone a narrative that is just the narrative. That's what you're going to say. That's what you're going to believe. And you know that it's a lie. You continue to tell yourself a lie. So you're demoralizing yourself. You're disrespecting yourself. And you are also giving yourself, you're almost receiving a mandate not to think critically. People don't want to have to think if they don't want to. And I think that there is a natural impulse for critical thought that the powers that be are very desperately, have always tried desperately to quell, whether that's through limiting literacy, whether that's through taking charge of the educational institutions, but always there is an attempt to mitigate the capacity for critical thought. And that's what propaganda does. Propaganda tells you, this is obviously false, but you're going to say this anyway. And this is what we're seeing.
Well,
Right.
people
Well,
buy into that lie. Oh, go
it
ahead, Rose.
quells that, yeah, it quells that uncomfortable feeling of cognitive dissonance that people get. They're like, something doesn't look right here, but the thought that things are not right makes me highly uncomfortable. And then you've got this supposed expert coming in to tell you, oh no, everything's fine, it's just such and such. Like, that's a very appealing thing, that you can just outsource your thinking to an expert. That, okay, clearly everything is under control, there's nothing to worry about. There's a perfectly logical explanation.
Right.
You know, one of the most telling pieces of propaganda that I've seen recently is Stephen Miller. Going out there, going on news, and very targeted, calling Democrats, leftist organizations, domestic extremists, domestic terror operations, using these words. These words have meaning. And now we see it even within our own movement, right? Calling people Antifa. Well, Trump says he's going after Antifa. So what do you call your opponents? You call them Antifa. You're hoping that the federal government will come after your political opponents. And we even see this within the Libertarian Party. That is a form of propaganda. They know it's not true.
Thanks for cueing it.
Amanda
For the
and I
segue.
are violent leftist Antifa agents, apparently.
So Yes, Austin Martin sent an email to the Libertarian National Committee, apparently this morning or last night. And it was a very funny email because it included screenshots that disprove his thesis directly. The first he has, Kyle being a silly person. So this is Kyle saying that he's calling for stopping terrorists, referring to ISIS terrorist groups, saying you're defending terrorists. Austin says, well, you actually mean shooting government employees.
Yeah, those poor, poor oppressed feds. Won't somebody please think of the poor feds?
And then Kyle gives a very, very libertarian, very textbook libertarian perspective on violence here, where he says, no, you don't start violence. You shoot people who are killing people to stop them from the active act of killing people. So he says that.
Austin responds with, if it wasn't so tragic, I'd think it was funny. Many of you try to pretend this is what I was doing. Let me clarify what violent rhetoric actually looks like. So he is, again, from a conversation with me, bro, he's talking about shooting people in the name of the LP. Pay attention.
What? When did you say that?
He
I
didn't. I looked through the
talked
thread personally because sometimes Kyle says things. He didn't say that.
I mean, we've
If I see-
established that, yeah, I mean, that he hears voices and thinks they're real, but
If I see lp.org on a bullet somewhere, I know who to look for, Kyle.
and anti-MC, apparently.
So once again,
So-
within the screenshot, this is not strategic screenshotting from Comrade Martin. This is, you usually don't want to include in the screenshots quotes that debunk your thesis. But he's still learning. So you can scroll on down because I featured in this as well. So this is I love this, and everyone, of course, has read my theses on a solidarity pledge. But Austin has a screenshot talking about how he's calling for the immediate removal of violent Antifa leftists from this party to uphold the NAP. He says, for good reason, they hate the NAP. First of all, I'm one person.
So,
And then he
yeah.
includes this beautiful screenshot that begins with a disclaimer where I say that I'm so grateful for the near universal, glad I included that qualifier, good faith of my libertarian interlocutors who, while they have disagreed with portions of these arguments, in some cases with hostility, have never once accused those of us who critique the principle and pledge of endorsing violence or abjuring libertarianism. This is one of many experiences that I take as cause for faith in our party and in our fellowship as advocates and adjutants toward a common, more fundamentally libertarian set of that should be affirmed first and foremost.
We've got entire pipelines, you guys.
And we're getting money, evidently. We have large donations from people. I'm sure George Soros is one of them.
I'm still waiting on my check, by the way.
Yeah.
It's,
I get
He's
mine
making us-
later tonight. I get mine at midnight tonight. So
He's
we're all
making
good.
us sound so much cooler than we actually are. We've got whole pipelines. We've got
I
these
wish we
secret
had a pipeline of money.
I wish we
Right.
had secret
We
underground
would be getting
networks
so
too.
many delegates
Speaking
to
of-
convention.
Oh
Look
my
at the top
God.
left of your screen. Support the LPA right there.
Yes.
Yeah, be part of our pipeline funneling delegates to convention
Maybe
and
someday
supporting their travel.
Even-
do well enough and recruit enough delegates, and you too might get a Soros check someday.
Possibly.
Austin then claims
Possibly.
that we're working with state parties on getting in on the action, pointing to the Arizona Libertarian Party and
Which is
saying, in case
Mises
you-
run, or was Mises run until not too
Which-
long ago.
Well,
they're not now. Yes.
Okay.
I thought they fell out of Mises control before LPA even existed, but apparently we did exist back then, and
sort
we're
of.
responsible for that happening too.
Yes, well, it's mostly you, Rose, because you're mostly responsible for Mises things. And then
Yeah,
Kyle and I are
yes,
the leftists, and Jake is the Soros-funded reporter. So we're just a group of terrible people here.
I mean, we all know
So-
I'm secretly capable of plotting out these like multi-year, yeah.
So
Plots,
my favorite
so-
part of this entire thing is at the end of this. So Austin says that's why he felt he had to make the call in the first place. We've got to go against the violence because they're not going to remove themselves. Join the fight and support the removal of socialism from the LP by donating at the link below. This was an internal email. He sent an email to the LNC asking the LNC to donate.
Maybe he was testing it. Who knows? Who knows?
But
Holy
you're
cow.
on some subcommittees, but you're not even on the LNC. Like, okay.
But again,
Yeah,
this is
so on the one hand, explaining the historical, what libertarian socialism is in the historical context, the fact that until well into the 20th century, all forms of anarchism, including pro-market anarchism, were considered a form of socialism. The fact
yes.
that capitalism came to be used synonymously with free markets is kind of that came with
It's-
Rothbardianism
yeah.
and had to do with his Misesian influence. Like if you read Human Action, Mises even acknowledges that the term capitalist was a pejorative, but then he goes on to adopt it because he thinks it's descriptive and useful. Rothbard was torn, like in his early work, on whether or not to even use the term capitalism. Ultimately, adopted it, but he was very clear to make a distinction between statist capitalism and anarcho-capitalism. Point being, though, anyone who was opposed to the existing economic system prior to the mid 1900s was considered anti-capitalist and was considered a type of socialist. Okay, there had always been bad blood between the communalist anarchists or anarcho-communists and the pro-market individualist anarchists. They were still considered variants of socialism, though. So, yeah, someone who's claiming, oh, all socialism is state socialism and thus inherently a NAP violation, all they're really doing is telling us that they have not read any anarchist theory at all.
But
They don't know what words mean, and they're politically illiterate
This
and
is-
can be dismissed as not a serious person.
why it's exquisite propaganda. The efficient propagandist knows that he does not have to work so hard at getting people not to think, because people don't want to work very hard at thinking.
Well, and the
True.
conspiracy theories are a good way for people not to really have to think, because things are complex, things are not in control, and things are chaotic. And I imagine if you're supporting the Mises Caucus and you see what happened in January, the reports come out, everything falls apart, you can think that, oh, my people did some very bad things that led to this domino effect, which is ultimately what happened. But then you have to be self-aware that you supported something that was bad. So it's easier on the ego to say that, no, this is a leftist infiltration job.
Mhm.
You don't have to accept any responsibility for supporting the bad people. And you never have to take any accountability, and you never have to make any changes that way.
I want to make sure we get to this link between tech firms and AI and surveillance and ICE. So this comes from the wonderful people, yes, Austin, at the New Republic. I don't even know if he knows what the New Republic is, but if he does, he's probably screaming.
Clearly,
now.
they're violent
It's a
and
violent
leftists,
leftist
and he needs to
publication.
investigate them and be a whistleblower on them
Also,
next.
The institution at the middle of the plot of Shattered Glass, I believe, which is a great movie. You should watch it. It's a true story. So this is very soon. ICE will know exactly where you are all the time. ICE is planning on buying a tool that will let it see hundreds of millions of phones' location data. So this comes from a purchase of several different technologies. This is Weblock, Tangles, and
Palantir.
there is, yes, thank you. So I'm going to read just a little paragraph on what they do here. So Weblock monitors the trends of mobile devices that have location data activated. So just deactivate that, please. And how often they've been to those locations, according to a government case study. Tangles creates a day-in-the-life profile of individuals based on mined social media data. It combines posts, contacts, locations, and events they attended, combining it. Oh, it's a double combine. That's, get it together, New Republic. It aggregates. It aggregates posts, call me, contacts, locations, and events they attended, combining it with any information leaked about them online, as well as captured images of a subject's face that can then be searched for in databases by using Tangles' 'SS AI-assisted tools. So again, the nexus of big tech and government surveillance, and it's one of those questions. So, how does that get prevented? Because people should be able to have pioneering technologies. We don't want to curb innovation, but we also don't want that being weaponized against individuals. So it is tricky, it is delicate, but at the end of the day, we are seeing what happens when states involve themselves in this kind of development.
Amanda, if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear. Wasn't that what the Bush administration told us?
That's what they tell me. I'm just afraid of all the things.
As long as
So
you're
if
in
you-
this country legally and you're not part of a violent leftist terror cell,
Part of
you're
the
not
Libertarian
either
Party,
of those things, are you?
And as long as you're not insulting the dear leader and you wipe down the portrait you've got in your living room once a day, you
and
will be
kiss it.
fine.
Yeah.
And do the Trump dance at least once per day.
What is the Trump dance? Did they change it? They changed them. Oh, that's right. Okay, good. With the thumbs
I don't know
up
if I
by
can-
the thigh. Yeah.
I don't know if I can do it well, but that's probably that's going to be a problem because soon the Trump dance will be the only approved dance, and anyone who is caught doing any other dance will be subject to prison time
I just hope we don't have to get his hair cut. I mean, I really don't want to
Oh.
go down that road.
and spray tan.
But this is kind of where this starts, right? We've get these companies will give away all the data to the federal government for their special benefits that they're going to get from the federal government. And now they've got a reason to give up our data to the federal government. The federal government can use that data for whatever purpose they want, and they will. Right now, it might be immigrants. At some point, it might be you said something that a leader does not like, or you've criticized someone too much.
The apologists, their current argument is, well, they already have all this information anyway. This just combines it into one centralized database.
One
that
nice centralized
is
database.
the problem. See,
I
for a
love
while, we can at least
databases.
tell ourselves that, hey, if they're watching everyone, they're watching no one. Okay, even if how can humans possibly comb through all this data
But
to be
now we
watching
have
everyone
AI.
efficiently? Now we've got AI to do it for them.
That could just hallucinate
course-
who's done something wrong.
Precisely, it'll have your data. They'll say which of these people in this particular town is a terrorist. It's going to tell them what they want to hear. It's going to go through our social media posts and our
Instead of
associations and
Minority
say,
Report, it's just
Yes.
made up report. Just
yes, it's going to tell them what they want to hear. So it's going to find them people who meet the description of individuals they just asked the AI for.
It's going to be like Grok, right? Grok, is this true? There's going to be like, oh, whatever system is this true about them? And oh yeah, this.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
says
back
it just
whatever.
affirms your proposition. This is the thing about LLMs and a lot of AI is it affirms the proposition, right? It doesn't innovate on the proposition. So if you feed it information, it's going to regurgitate that information in a slightly new way, or in a way that you didn't directly phrase it, right? So it takes what you've given it and then it says it back to you. So. Yes, exactly. You can grok is this true people right into the gulags. It's perfectly well. So yeah, I honestly get it together. New Republic. It's not multiplicative, Dustin. I don't know what it is. You don't use the same word in the same sentence multiple times. There are a lot of different words.
No,
for
that's
combine.
English 101 right there.
Yes.
Come on, people. But that
Gather.
was always, I didn't even have to take a class to tell me that.
Compile.
That's
you
just
can use the same
instinct.
word twice in a sentence if there's
You can, but it
Very-
says that it combines the data, combining it into yada yada yada. This is the New York
Yeah,
Times
no,
style.
come
This
on,
isn't-
people.
It is.
This isn't the New York Times. It's the New Republic. Anyhow, what?
So, as people may have noticed, this week has been heavily about country news rather than libertarian around the world. And there's another thing here where Stephen Miller has turned out to be a fucking robot, going down and giving a explanation of how Trump has plenary authority, meaning full, godlike authority over everything in the country. And as soon as he says this, he just
He
stops.
short circuits, but he was still blinking. So the explanation that his feed froze doesn't fly. So
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, he's just like,
and
Like,
the
he
anchor
short
kind of
circuits completely.
prompting him like, did we lose the connection? But he's still blinking, right? So you didn't lose the connection. He didn't lose the connection while he was talking. He finishes his sentence. So yeah, he says plenary authority, which is a term that has been used in many fascist systems. It means, yes, you have full authority to do whatever you like, which is totalitarianism. And totalitarianism. And immediately short circuits. And then strangely, that portion was clipped out of a later replay of that same interview, which was more bizarre because you would expect differently. CNN.
On the news
I
network
bet.
that's supposed to be against this particular team and rooting for or
Wait,
rather the
commie
propagandists for the
fascists.
other team.
Yeah.
I
Well,
bet.
of course, they're the people that gave us Donald Trump because they wanted to cover him 24/7 back in 2015. Oh, look, he's getting out of his car. Oh, he's
Yeah.
flying on his airplane. Let's just constant coverage of him. He says he doesn't know
Uh-huh.
who David Duke even is.
Jon Stewart looked into the camera and begged Donald Trump to run. And I will never forget that.
I had this conversation. People who were like, how hilarious would it be if he was the Republican nominee? I'm like, people would actually elect him, right? They all acted like that was not possible, but it was just going to be a funny show to watch, which it was. So then come 2016 election night, I was sitting there laughing at all the people who were freaking out. I'm like, you guys, I told you.
I mean, it's still kind of comical. I mean, you look at the White House and what he's done with that, with those gaudy looking gold plated everything that he probably bought at the dollar store. It just looks
Spirit
horrible.
Halloween.
And
he hired contractors to make gold plated everything, and they just went to the dollar store and told them that it was all custom made.
I would appreciate that if that's what happened, and I prefer to think so. We don't want to let this episode go without mentioning some of the great work that we've had this past week in the
Gonna
Torch.
skip Stimmies?
Okay, fine. We're not going to skip Stimmies. Kyle wants to talk about Stimmies, so we're going to talk about Stimmies now.
Well, don't overdo
Kyle,
it on
tell
those,
us
okay? Okay, less is more with the stimmies,
Tell
Kyle.
us about your Stimmy, Kyle.
So,
And never call it a Stimmy again.
the righteous and high leader Golden Donald Trump has seen how damaging these tariffs that the Democrats must have put in have been to the people, and is thereby going to cut us all a break, potentially by giving us stimulus checks, because these clearly Democrat tariffs have somehow slowed the economy, which clearly...
Who could have predicted this? I thought we were getting more revenue from the tariffs. I wasn't a study released recently, some government study that said we were actually getting revenue from the tariffs.
It's
It shows
Antifa's
they were
fault. They're
taxes.
they're interfering somehow. They're sabotaging things, and that's why it's not making money.
I see. Thank you, Rose, for clarifying.
Yeah.
So yes,
Imports and exports are down. People aren't buying as many things, but because they're more expensive, revenue to the government is up, and thereby stimmies have been good, or going to be good, for those tariffs.
oh, so I see the government's making money from the tariffs.
Yes.
Okay, well that's fine then. Nothing ever bad has come of mercantilism, so that's fine. I'm glad for that. Yes, so
Stimmies.
we're getting more stimmies. Kyle is very excited about the word stimmy. Yes, the tariffs are collected in rubles. Thank you, Dustin. The stimmies will also be issued in rubles.
Maybe you'll
and
get a
the
tiny.
commemorative Trump coin.
Yes, maybe our stimmy will just be one.
Just give us a
commemorative
Trump coin.
It will be a piece of wood coated in the same gold Trump uses, made of plastic.
Or the
I-
NFT, you can get your choice.
That's true. That's true.
It's going to be an NFT.
It will be, and like you say that, and it's not even funny. I had another podcast way back when I was living in LA, and I made a joke about how inflation, or rather like that California spending was so terrible that Newsom was going to have to give us checks to deal with how bad like the inflation and the spending was, and that is exactly what happened. So don't even joke about that. Don't even joke about these stimmy NFTs. It will happen. I do want to talk about some of the excellent work that we've had published in The Torch, and I want to start doing this weekly. We have a couple writers that have really just taken off. So we've got Charlie Larkin. who's posted a lot about libertarianism through the lens of someone who is a Mason. And so he applies lessons from Masonry to libertarianism, and it is absolutely fascinating. He has his most recent piece is Lessons from an Elephant, discussing how you see your libertarianism and how this can kind of distort your way of understanding libertarianism writ large. Please check it out. It's fascinating work. We also have Tom Rowlett, who has his monthly column where he addresses pervasive issues in the Libertarian Party. And this time he's talked about fair weather libertarian friends and people who've been in it for the long haul. These are quick reads. These are good reads. Check out Tom's new column as well. And then we've got someone new. We have Tim Johnson from Wisconsin. And he's got a couple analyses up. Well, he has one up and then he's got one on the pipeline, talking about some of the cognitive biases and the sociological problems that are partly generational that have gotten us to the bubbles that we're in today. Finally today, we also published some stuff from me, it's fine. Finally today, we had William Hart publish a piece, a real call to action that's amazing, called Libertarian Lead and Steel. And that's currently at the top of the featured writing, talking about what this country requires and why we cannot just not act because we are not being imminently threatened, although I would argue that we are. I also did some reporting the other night on Colorado and on a certain Republican lawmaker who seems to have donated in excess of the legal limit to the Libertarian Party of Colorado just in time for the convention. And that is still Hannah Goodman, who's in charge of those assets. So it would be her duty to refund that, since she has sole management of those assets. She has not done so. As a press time, did not get back to a request for comment. Still is not. She could comment anytime. All right. Check out The Torch and check us out when we are back here on Thursday. We are moving our Solidarity stream. What? What?
Something happens on October 10th that matters.
What happens on October 10th, Kyle?
We will be interviewing LP Russia.
That's right. That's right. We'll be okay. So
how could you forget that?
I know. Who are you, and what have you done with Amanda
I
Griffiths?
have it on my calendar.
I
have it on my calendar. Okay, I wanted you to say it.
Is this the James Wiley calendar?
It is on there. But here's the thing, guys. So it's in the morning, right? Because it's got to sync up with Moscow time. So it is going to be at 11 in the morning Eastern time. We're going to be talking with LP Russia. Of course, we will also retro stream that. But if you want to catch it live, we're talking to the Libertarian Party of Russia. And that's at 11 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. We're moving our Solidarity streams to Tuesdays again. Those are going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. And again, we're going to be back here on Thursday for another episode of The Business List. Did I forget anything else, Kyle Rosejig?
Probably.
We're gonna say anarchy. And we're gonna say anarchy. Full transparency. Now I wanna see anarchists on the business list. Destroy!